So today I want to talk about some pretty big breaking news that just released in the past couple of days. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake has been confirmed to be true, and even more so has been confirmed to be shadow dropping in the next coming weeks. This is huge news. Now, rumors and speculations about this remake have been cropping up since as early as 2023. And 2 years later, now reliable leakers like Jeff Grubb have confirmed that this remake is in fact happening and is in fact coming way sooner than we thought. So today, let's talk about this leak, how I feel about it, what position is Bethesda in once they release this, and what are some potential changes that are being made to this Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake compared to its original release in 2006, almost 20 years ago. Before we begin, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing to see more content like this. Now, let's jump in. So, starting out, I have this Forbes article pulled up right here talking about the Oblivion remake and some of the images that have been released or leaked rather as part of this whole situation. Now, as we can see here, a load of reputable sources are now reporting that they are about to drop the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake quite literally a week from now, beginning April 21st. That is massive. There's been a lot of talk about how this specific remake is going to be shadow dropped. I have some thoughts about that, but we'll keep those until after we finish talking about this article. Like they mentioned, this has been said for a while by insiders like Nate the Hate and VGC, and now reliable Jeff Grubb has come out to say the same thing. It's next week. I've got separate confirmation on it. Pretty big stuff here. We're also now seeing leaks on what the game will look like in Unreal Engine 5. That's one thing I want to talk about. This game is not just being remastered. It's not just getting an HD remaster, it's getting a full-on remake, and that has some gameplay implications as well as graphical ones. In a typical remaster that you see, a lot of the times the under-the-hood game and engine is relatively the same. The gameplay mechanics work relatively the same, and the only thing that's really been updated are the graphics to bring it into a more modern setting or a modern audience to be able to play it on modern systems and have it look good. A prime example of a remaster is the Last of Us remaster that came out just about a year ago or so. That is a prime example of just taking a game, keeping the relative gameplay and systems intact, but just updating the graphics to bring it into a more modern setting, such as what we see in The Last of Us. The graphics are just way better now. Not that the graphics were particularly bad on the PS3, but now you have it in modern audiences' hands with PC and PS5. So this is completely different. This is a remake of the game, which means that they are building this game from essentially the ground up in Unreal Engine 5, which is extremely interesting in particular for this specific game, and I'll get into that in a bit. But as we can see, this tweet from Tom Warren here, looking at it, we've got some awesome home screen stuff. We got some pretty cool changes on what they actually look like compared from 2006's release, and you could just tell that this looks incredible. It looks like a new gen game with new gen systems and new gen graphics, and that's why I think it's important to talk about what exactly Bethesda hopes to gain from this remake. Now, in the last 10 years, Bethesda game studios themselves have not released that many games. They've released Fallout 4, they released Fallout 76, and they released Starfield, two of which are controversial at best and negatively received at worst. So it's important that Bethesda kind of comes out swinging with something that fans can get behind, because fan trust is being lost in Bethesda as we speak. They have really struggled these past couple of years, especially with Starfield. Starfield was said to be their next big thing, and they've really struggled and dropped the ball in a lot of areas. I talked about it in my Outer Worlds video, but procedural generation of the worlds, and on top of that, their DLC that they released, Starfield Shattered Space, was a pretty big flop in terms of content, writing, and everything in between. So it's important that Bethesda wins back some of that goodwill from the audience. Now, I don't know if this Oblivion remake is the best way to do that, because what you're doing is you're taking the same story, you're taking the same relative gameplay that worked in 2006, and you're updating it for modern audiences. You aren't creating something new, you're just repackaging something old. And I do think that gamers can see right through that. We're in a time right now where The Elder Scrolls 6 is still probably years away, and fan trust is not high for that game, considering with what happened with Starfield and what happened with Fallout 76. Now, people don't have a lot of faith in Bethesda Game Studios right now to pump out a fantastic Elder Scrolls game, and on top of that, it's at least 2 years away. So I think Bethesda's thought is that shadow dropping this Oblivion remake could win back some of that trust with gamers. But again, it kind of boils down to the fact that while this will be a very cool thing for gamers to get their hands on, and for people like me who never played the original, I'm excited to see what Bethesda was like in their peak. A lot of people consider Oblivion and Skyrim to basically be peak Bethesda, and I want to see what that was like, because as of right now, I've really only played Fallout 4 and Starfield, and I liked both of them, but they definitely do not stand up to a lot of the other RPGs and a lot of other modern RPGs that I've played since then. So it's interesting to see what they can do with this Oblivion remake that will hopefully kind of win me over in some ways and kind of get me excited for Elder Scrolls 6. But going back to the article now, they talk about how the Oblivion remake leaked back in 2023 when Microsoft documents were released as part of its court case with the purchase of Activision. That is when the leak started, and that's where the potential excitement of this remake started to essentially build. And then, since then, it hasn't been officially announced, but there is a shadow drop coming. I think the main thing to understand here, though, is that this is not being rebuilt by Bethesda Game Studios. They are working on Elder Scrolls 6. This is being developed by Virtuos, who is a known remake developer, which is a good sign overall because they know what they're doing in this space. But like I mentioned, since this is a remake, we're not specifically only talking about graphics getting an enhancement here. We're talking about straight up gameplay systems and features becoming modernized. So the Forbes article here lists a couple of those changes. They say that the HUD is meant to be easier to understand for new players. That's huge for me because I never played Oblivion. I know what games were like back then, and I know that they weren't particularly hand-holding you throughout every quest. I'm not saying I want that, but I would like some more ease of life, and that's what stopped me from going back and playing some of those older games that came out, 2006, things like that, is that they particularly are bad at directions. You don't have to handhold me, but I would like some form of direction. So I'm glad to see that the HUD is overall getting an overhaul overall. Stamina on top of that is meant to be less frustrating and for players to be knocked down less when it's depleted. Again, I'm not sure how it was in the original game. I was too young to play it, but that seems like a good change, and I'm excited to see how it interacts in the new game. Hit reactions are meant to improve combat on both the player and enemy side. This is something that I'm actually glad to see because I know for a fact that Elder Scrolls 4's combat and Skyrim's combat are considered at best. They're pretty floaty. If they could bring some form of like Avowed's combat in. Avowed's combat is really good. I mentioned that in my review. I think the overall progression is not great, but I do think that the combat itself is very tight feeling. So if they can kind of modernize the combat in that sense, that would be really great to see. Blocking is meant to be inspired by Souls-like games. Now, this is something that I'm confused on, because Souls-like games are their own niche, their own genre, and they require insane precision. Skyrim and Elder Scrolls games aren't necessarily supposed to be hardcore like that, so I'm interested to see on what exactly they mean when they say that it's meant to be inspired by Souls-like games, because that's something that could easily turn me off from this remake if the blocking requires you to be so precise and I'm dying constantly because of that. That's not what I want out of an Elder Scrolls experience. If I want something like that, I'll go play a From Software game, and that's not what I want out of my Bethesda game. So I am interested to see how exactly they plan on changing that up. In sneaking, they're meant to have sneak icons more highlighted. That's also good to see. And that in archery, they mean to make it more modern for first and third person play. So again, all these seem like good changes that modernize the game and change certain systems and features up that improve the quality of life, as opposed to making it tougher just to engage with the game's various systems. Look, overall, I am pretty excited for this Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake. It's a game that I haven't played before, but I've heard so much about, and that's a big deal to me because of the fact that this is considered peak Bethesda. I want to experience what peak Bethesda looked like, but in a modern context. And I'm excited to do that with a game like Oblivion, a game that I probably wouldn't have played anytime soon, because of how old it is, but now I kind of have an excuse to play it and review it for you guys. So I'm excited, very excited to do so. However, again, I'm curious on what this will do to Bethesda's standing with fans. Specifically, like I mentioned, Elder Scrolls 6 is still years away. It would be weird if they dropped this Oblivion remake and have it be really amazing and have the writing be really good, because that's what it was like back in 2006. And then you transition to Elder Scrolls 6, which is their next game, and the writing's back to kind of being shit, and the world's kind of back to being procedurally generated, and a lot of the Starfield's issues stay prevalent in Elder Scrolls 6. And so, if anything, I would feel as though that would hurt Bethesda more, because they know how good they could be. They've seen a modern Elder Scrolls game now and have it be so good, and now you're transitioning back into actual modern Bethesda, which is not nearly as good. So I'm curious to see on what fan reaction will be like for Bethesda for years to come. Either way, though, that's been it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know on what you think about this Oblivion remake. Are you excited to play it? It's going to be on Game Pass, free of charge, shadow dropped. That's pretty cool to me. It's such a big remake, such a big game, such a beloved game. And the fact that they're just releasing it on Game Pass for $12.99 a month, shadow dropped, is super cool. But yeah, guys, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you like this type of content, make sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing. It's CGG. I'm out.